What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and welcome to the month of September. It's been a minute since I've done some retro deck profiles, and it's even funny enough because I haven't done anything focusing on Harpie in terms of retro. But there was a variation of Harpies that I'm sure many of you have been waiting for, and that is my Harpie deck based off of Edison and focusing on Dark Simorgh. Now, everybody's variation of their Dark Simorgh Harpie deck is going to be different. Mine's, of course, is also going to be different too. And I just want to state that out that it was a very hard time playing Harpie during Edison format because unless you're just going to stick to playing pure wind, which is still an option, playing the Dark Simorgh variation can be very stressful because of the situations at hand. Dark Simorgh needs a lot of monsters to survive his special summon, whether it's from the graveyard or it's from the deck. I mean, from the hand or from the graveyard. And in addition to that, you still have to maintain a lot of your other win conditions and a lot of other abilities and stuff to keep the strategy going. So at a point in time, yes, while it does seem very factual to keep a majority of that together, I personally had just decided to try to build a little bit on that. But if I did want to build my own variation of Harpie, um, it probably would just be more wind based. Kind of also just, to add to the factor of I learned my lesson from when, things were what they were during Edison format. So, yeah, it was definitely a time for me. And I'll probably explain a little bit more of that when I talk about more stuff later. But let's get into this deck profile because that's what you guys are really here for. I've already spent 2 minutes into it. So, starting off with my monsters are 3 copies of Harpie Queen. Then it's 3 copies of Harpie Lady 1, followed by 2 copies of Harpie's Pet Baby Dragon. And then from there is the 2 copies of Miss Valley Soldier, the 1 copy of Miss Valley Shaman, and my 2 copies of Flying Kamakiri #1. Scoop these over. There we go. From there are the rest of my monsters, and they are the 2 copies of course, Dark Simorgh, 2 copies of Mystic Tomato, 1 copy of Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind, 1 copy of Sangan, 1 copy of Tragodia, and 1 copy of Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. So that is literally it for all of my main deck monsters. We're then going to go, of course, into the spells. And the spells are simply 2 copies of Elegant Egotus, 2 copies of Harpie's Hunting Ground, 2 copies of Swallow's Nest, a Book of Moon, a Mind Control, a Heavy Storm, a Giant Trunade, and an MST. Then for my traps, I'm running 2 Hysteric Party, 2 Icarus Attack, Compulse, Torrential, Bottomless, and Mirror Force. So that is literally it for all of my cards. That is 40 in the main deck. Then going into, of course, the extra are my copies of Chimera Fortress Dragon, the Allied Justice Cataster, the Brionac Dragon of the Ice Barriers, 1 copy of Gaia Knight, the Force of Earth, 1 copy of Goyo Guardian, 1 copy of Flamevale Urquasis, 1 copy of Blackwing Armwing, Blackwing Armor Master, Ancient Fairy Dragon, Black Rose Dragon, Dark Ruler Archfiend, Colossal Fighter, Stardust Dragon, Red Dragon Archfiend, and Mist Worm, which rounds out every monster for my extra deck. So that is pretty much it for everything, both main and extra. And actually, let's go ahead and talk about it. And I'm going to start off with my extra deck because, well, my extra deck really doesn't get too much love. But if you know, Harpie did not have their own tuner, and until 2020, Harpie did not have their own synchro. So you did have to use a lot of the things that were handed to us. Thankfully, Wind did have enough had the help of tuners such as Krebins, Plague, Gale, and even the Miss Valley tuners. So it was a good range of things we can have access to. I was going to say Nitro Warrior, considering that was Wind. But, I mean, if we stick on the topic of Wing and Winged Bees, then, or at least Winged Beasts support themselves. Miss Valley and Blackwing had that help. Low level tuners, Krebins in them, and it would still be really easy just to add those things into the fight so that you can play around with the rest of them for other utility. Now, the one copy of the Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon is simply here because he can side in Cyber Dragons to help you deal with machines. Definitely Machina, which was at its peak during that time frame. From there, the Ally of Justice Catastor is just a level 5, which you can play around with the mind control situation. Bryanak, the same thing, because you have Gale and you have Miss Valley Shaman as your level 6. That also goes for Gaia Knight and Goyo, because pre-Arata Goyo just needed one tuner and one or more non-tuners. You can easily access that with your deck, thanks to mind control and even brain control. I know I'm not running the brain control. That's simply because I don't know where my brain controls are. But if anything, brain control is another addition you can add into the deck. Flamethrower Quasis, who not only can inflict piercing battle damage, but also gains 300 attack. So that was a good thing there. Speaking of piercing battle damage, we had Blackwing Arm Wing with a Blackwing tuner and a non-tuner. Which you make off of this, you can easily go into Arm Wing as well as Blackwing Armor Master, who is just there to be just another beat stick. Ancient Fairy Dragon to blow up field spells and then search for Hunting Ground if need be, and then allow you to do an extended special summon. Black Rose Dragon to nuke the field. Thought Ruler to play some really good defenses in cards targeting psychics, but also being able to negate the ability to negate the activation of cards that did target a psychic monster or no other cards on the field, and then be able to destroy it. So, not too bad there. And then, it's destruction effect and gaining life. Yeah, Thought Ruler did that as well. Destroying the monster and sending it to the grave, you to gain a life equal to that monster's attack. Colossal Fighter, just as another big beat stick that can bring itself back to the board. Stardust to protect your cards. Red Dragon, that's just another big beat stick. And then Mistworm, which I know is very hard to pull off in some situations, but yes, Mistworm was viable because it allows you to bounce up to 3 cards on the field back into the owner's hand. So, yeah, very much a reasonable target. Because everything here was because of simply how well you can fluctuate with both mind control, brain control, and how many, and whatever tuner you can hit onto the board. So that's it for these guys. And then we're going to go ahead and go back into the main deck so I can talk about all those nice pieces. So, we're going to start off with Harpie Queen and Harpie Lady. Now, some people are going to run Cyber Harpie because she has the 1800 beat stick. And you can do that if you would like to. But I want the Harpie Lady one here for the additional attack boost. Then I can, have my Queen have the attack boost, my Baby Dragon have the attack boost, and really just knock over things if need be. Now, these are the only Harpies outside of Harpie Lady Sisters that can be ran at this time, because the others are now till 2013 and onward, and with how that time of the form those times were, these were your only Harpie targets. So, besides the 5 that are always Harpie Lady, Queen is next, and Sisters. But running Sisters is like a bad choice because they were the brick of the deck. So, yeah, very much a not so smart idea if you were trying to run Harpie. You can run Sisters, but that would mean a lot of your variation of the deck has to change if you wanted to run more of a wind attributed variation of it. So from there, the only other Harpie monster left is Harpie's her Baby Dragon, and that's simply here to benefit from the number of Harpie Lady and the Harpie monsters that are in the field, excluding itself. This is the one that has the older attack, so it includes Harpie's brother, because he was never included to begin with. And either with the 2 or more, you double this monster's original attack and defense, and then with the 3 or more, you're able to destroy 1 card on your opponent's side of the field. And with a lot of the later on combos that the game offers, yeah, it does get a lot better when removing and destroying a lot of other things as well. So that is it for the 2 dragons. The Mist Valley Soldier and the Mist Valley Shaman, like I said with the extra deck, these are your bases of wind tuners that you can have access to. These two definitely did help the archetype for a good period of time because tuners were very scarce. You didn't really have much you could use at that point in time as well, so you really did have to just basically take advantage of whatever cards you had access to. So you either had the 1700 attacker or the 1200 card that liked to bounce stuff to give herself more attack. Which still isn't too bad because you can just bounce back some of. No, it has to be one other monster. Oh, this would just work with Thunder. With what's a monster? Thunderbird, Mist Valley Thunderbird. But we're not running Thunderbird or Thunderbird combos and stuff aren't more sufficient at this point in time. So, yeah, and I think actually Soldier is really, really good at this point in time because there are still, what is it, Spirit Reaper and Marshmallow running around, and a lot of monsters who couldn't be destroyed by battle as well, and Soldier helped get rid of those cards by sending them back into the hand. So it'd be a really easy thing for soldiers to run into. So they run into the Marshmallow. You'll take 1,000, but you'll at least get rid of the card. And if anything, you can run over. You wouldn't have to be able to run over the Spirit Reaper, but at least there'll be a way to get rid of it for just that period of time. Alright, that's it for those. And then we have left are the Flying Kamakiri #1 to help you search for either Mist Valley Soldier, Harpie Lady 1, or what is it, Harpie type Baby Dragon. Maybe another easy target for Wind to banish so that you can summon other monsters like your Dark Simorgh. Then from there is Dark Simorgh. So now we're going to go into the Dark Monsters. And with Dark Simorgh, you basically just have a giant. This is penultimately your boss monster. 2700 attack, 1k defense. It becomes a wind monster while on the field. You can banish a dark and a wind from your hand to summon it from the graveyard. You can banish a wind in the dark from your graveyard to summon it from your hand. And while it's on the field, your opponent cannot set cards. So, because your opponent is not able to set anything, you combine this card with anti-spell fragrance. So your opponent can't set spells, they can't set their trap cards, they have to rely on their monsters. And even then, you're basically just trying to set up control and a control variant of it. There is anti-spell fragrance, which yes, does not appear in this deck or its deck list, but is something that can be recommended if you like to play the more variant of it, which is heavily relies on back row and heavily relying on anti-spell, Harpie's hunting ground to pop stuff, and just the need to rely on that tactic as one of its options for the deck. From there, we are playing the 2 copies of the Mystic Tomato as a similar situation to that of Flying Kamakiri #1. I still want to put these two together on the board and talk about them simultaneously. You get Dark, you get Wind, and you can easily banish them as material to summon Dark Simorgh, so you have even more utilities with them. Both are what we'll refer as the recruiter monsters. They bring monsters from the deck onto the field for the special without having to do so much for them. You can even bring out monsters who are level 5 or higher, as long as their their attack points are 1500 or less. So you definitely get a good usage out of them. And mileage really is just how many of them you want to put in the deck. I put in 2 of each just to have that setup and variety. And there's tons of monsters you can easily put into the deck that both Tomato and Kamakiri can pick up. From there, we're going to move into the rest of the monsters, which are the 1 copy of Black Wind Girl, the Whirlwind, because why not have Gale in the deck, focusing on it. Great tuner, great synergy with everything in the deck, and gets out your Black Wing tuner, the Black Wing Synchros. 1 copy of Sangam to search for monsters. We do, of course, have Tragedia and Gores as well, as the sequential hand traps at that point. Trag can be dropped if effect damage is dealt to you or battle damage is dealt to you. So even if you had anything on the field, you can drop Trag. Trag's ability is that once a turn, you can discard a card from your hand to then copy a level of the monster in your graveyard, or take control of a monster your opponent controls with the same level as the monster you discarded from your hand. So depending on how the deck you're running up against fares, you have that option to do one of the effects and still benefit from it, because you can then take a tuner, make this monster a level of a monster in your grave, and then synchro. Gorz, on the other hand, you have to have no cards on your field. Drop him once you've either have been dealt battle damage or effect damage. You can then burn your opponent for the effect damage, and then summon Gorz and his token in defense mode, the Emissary of Darkness token, which is just a token that gains attack and defense equal to the damage that you took. It's a level 7 light attribute monster, and is basically there just as another addition to the deck. Otherwise, you're basically just playing it to just have next to Gorz. But that's very much it for all the monsters. And then as far as the spells go, it's simple things here. You have Elegant Egotist to help you swarm the field with your Harpies. Harpies hunting ground to destroy spells and traps that are on the field. Swallow's Nest to swap out your winged beasts for each other. Book of Moon to put things face down. Definitely disrupting plays with mind control and stuff. Speaking of that, the mind control to take your opponent's monsters and use them for synchro summons. You can also add in brain control as well, but that's you pay 800 life points. But the bright side is you can still attack with that monster when you do the brain control. Heavy Storm and Giant Trunade and MST for even more back row removal. Sorry, let me scoot these over so that we can have those all in frame. And then for the rest of the cards, which are the traps, Hysteric Party to bring back the Harpie Queens and the Harpie Ladies. Simply discarding one card from your hand to do such. Playing off of that to just swarm the field. Icarus Attack, because of all these winged beasts, to then pop 2 cards your opponent control. To pop 2 cards on the field. Compulsory, to bounce cards back to the hand. Torrential, to wipe the field. Bottomless, to deal with all the high level monsters. And Mirror Force to also deal with battle traps. There are a couple of cards that, of course, people are going to ask me, where are they, how do they fit into the situation. Of course, there are cards like Brain Control, which I have, but I couldn't find it, but it's something to include. There is the Blackwing Engine. You can include Foolish Burial. Like I said, I had to rush into building this deck at its short term, but I'm sure many of you will still find a way to not only enjoy it, but to benefit from the whole overall setup the deck can give for Harpie. Yeah, it's just basically not much really else to say, because I just wanted to focus on this bit and give you guys this variation of it, which is more improved. I can do a more improved variation of a more wind style version of Harpie if you would like that, and maybe even a beatdown variation as well, because I do remember there are some good beatdown versions of Harpie at that time. So with that said and done, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy more of my content for the month of September. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, as it helps out tremendously. You can hit notification bells to be informed of when I upload more content to the channel. My socials are in the description box below. And with that said, thanks everyone for watching. HPJ signing out. Take care.